Introduction: Net worth/public standing. Raila Amolo Odinga stood for decades as Kenya's most enduring opposition figure, a symbol of struggle, hope, and the quest for democratic reform. By 2025, despite his many years in public life, he remained a central reference point in Kenyan politics, admired by millions of supporters, scrutinized by critics, and widely regarded as one of East Africa's most influential statesmen. His estimated net worth, based on disclosed assets, real estate holdings, business interests, past consultancy roles, political payments, included his role as envoy under the African Union, and inherited family property, range between KS 2 billion and KS 4 billion. This reflects both his long career and diversified investments. More than financial wealth, his public standing derived from his legacy, a life defined by activism, leadership, resilience, and symbolic value to large segments of Kenyan society. Even after decades of political turbulence, detentions, electoral defeats, intense opposition, Raila remained a powerful political brand. In 2025, his voice still carried weight in debate, alliances, and national discourse, marking him as a towering figure whose influence transcended party lines. Early life, parents, siblings, including sister Beryl Achieng, education background, family and roots. Raila was born on January 7, 1945 in Maseno, Kisumu County to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Kenya's first vice president, and Mary Juma Odinga. He grew up in a large, politically active family, deeply shaped by the fight for Kenya's independence and subsequent struggles for democracy. The household was known for passionate political discussions, moral discipline, and strong community ties. His siblings included several prominent figures, among them a sister, Beryl Achieng Odinga. Tragically, Beryl passed away on November 25, 2025 at a Nairobi hospital after a period of illness. Her death, coming shortly after Raila's own passing, added sorrow to the family and generated national mourning for those familiar with the Odinga legacy. Beryl's life and contributions are notable in their own right. She was professional, served in public institutions both in Zimbabwe and Kenya, and maintained a relatively private life despite the family's political prominence. Education and formative years. Raila's early schooling took place in Kenya, where he attended elite local schools. According to family accounts, he was top of his class and involved in sports such as triple jump, pole vault, and football, traits reflecting discipline and leadership from a young age. In pursuit of higher education, Raila traveled to East Germany, the then German Democratic Republic, enrolling at the Technical University of Magdeburg, where he studied mechanical engineering, graduating in 1970. This overseas education exposed him to socialist ideas, global politics, and a broader worldview, sharpening his political consciousness and giving him analytical tools that would later shape his approach to governance, policy, and national infrastructure. Personal life, wife, children, religion, other works. Marriage and children. In 1973, Raila married Ida Odinga, née Nyingo, beginning a partnership that would last over 5 decades amidst the upheavals of Kenyan politics. They raised a family that remains deeply entrenched in Kenya's public life. Their children include Rosemary Odinga, entrepreneur and social advocate Raila Odinga Jr., businessman Winnie Odinga, active in politics and media. They also had a son, Fidel Odinga, who passed away in 2015. The family is Christian, and Raila's faith reportedly grounded many of his moral and ethical principles. Other roles and interests. Beyond politics, Raila had long-standing interests in business, infrastructure projects, and Pan-African advocacy. He served as the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development at one point, reflecting his engineering background and commitment to continental development. He authored political memoirs and commentaries, often mentoring young leaders, supporting grassroots initiatives, and speaking at international forums on governance and freedom. Professional career. Early career, engineering and public service. After returning from Germany, Raila worked in Kenya's public and private sectors, including industrial and engineering roles. However, by the early 1970s, he began gravitating toward political activism, inspired by his father's legacy and rising calls for democratic reforms. Detention and activism, 1980s, 1990s. Raila became a symbol of resistance under the single-party regime. He was detained multiple times for standing against authoritarian rule and advocating for multi-party democracy, human rights, and political freedoms. These years of imprisonment and struggle shaped his public persona as a defender of the disenfranchised, rise to national leadership. In 1992, when Kenya returned to multi-party politics, Raila emerged as one of the leading opposition voices, pushing for constitutional reforms, freedoms, and accountability in 2001 to 2002. He held key positions in pre-election negotiations that eventually led to the end of the four-decade rule by the former establishment. After the disputed 2007 elections, which triggered nationwide violence, Raila accepted a power-sharing deal, becoming prime minister 2008 to 2013 in a grand coalition government. In this role, he oversaw the drafting and promulgation of the new 2010 Constitution of Kenya, a major milestone in Kenya's political history. Later career and opposition role. Following his term as prime minister, Raila ran presidential campaigns in 2013, 2017, and 2022. Though unsuccessful, each maintained large popular support and sparked national debates. Even out of formal power, he continued to lead the opposition and influence national politics. Between 2018 to 2023, he served as a high-ranking envoy for continental infrastructure development under the African Union, leveraging his engineering background and widespread influence beyond Kenya. By 2025, even after decades of struggle, Raila remained a central figure, shaping opposition alliances, mentoring younger leaders, advocating for democratic reforms, and representing Kenya on many continental platforms. House tour and car collection. Raila Odinga's public life did not reflect excessive opulence. Rather, it showed a balance between influence and modest comfort. Residences. Family home in Bondo, Siaya County, the ancestral homestead, deeply symbolic for the Odinga lineage, modest but dignified, rooted in Luo tradition and heritage. Townhouse in Nairobi, Karen/Ngong area used for family stays, occasional meetings, and state-level discussions, secure and comfortable without extravagant display. Vehicles and security. Given his long public career, Raila often moved under security detail and in convoys. He owned mid-luxury SUVs and sedans, functional and suitable for his security and mobility needs. Public records and media coverage do not support claims of enormous real estate empires or flashy collections. His pattern was consistent. Sufficient comfort, security, and dignity. No unnecessary flamboyance. College career. Raila's time at the Technical University of Magdeburg, East Germany, remains a defining phase. Studying mechanical engineering equipped him with analytical thinking, discipline, and technical training, uncommon among many African politicians of his generation. He returned to Kenya with a global outlook, academic grounding, and an engineer's mindset, qualities that later shaped his approach to infrastructure, national planning, and state governance. His education imbued him with a sense of structure, vision, and purpose, which he carried into activism, leadership, and public service. Cause of death, final days, and recent family loss. Important update. Raila Amolo Odinga died on October 15, 2025, reportedly in India while undergoing medical treatment. The cause was reported as cardiac arrest, compounded by chronic health challenges. His death triggered national mourning. Kenya declared days of grief, and thousands of mourners, supporters, and detractors alike paid tribute to his life and legacy, adding to the family's sorrow. Only weeks later, his sister, Beryl Achieng Odinga, passed away on November 25, 2025 at Nairobi West Hospital after a period of illness. She was 78 years old. The close succession of these losses deeply shook the Odinga family and moved the nation. Tributes flowed from across political divides. President William Ruto, opposition leaders, and ordinary citizens expressed grief, lauding Raila as a democratic icon and Beryl as a trailblazer who quietly served the public good. Legacy. Why Raila Odinga remains a legendary figure, even in death. Raila Odinga's life story is a saga of resistance, hope, sacrifice, and transformation. From colonial-era roots, through political detentions, to leading constitutional reforms and shaping Kenya's modern identity. His journey mirrors that of the nation itself. Champion of multi-party democracy, his detentions, activism, and electoral struggles played a central role in opening Kenya to plurality and constitutional reform. Architect of the 2010 Constitution, as Prime Minister, he helped usher in a modern constitutional order that reshaped governance and devolution in Kenya. Pan-African advocate. His engineering background and continental vision led to roles beyond Kenya, pushing infrastructure, integration, and Africa-wide cooperation. Symbol of resilience. With repeated political setbacks, personal losses, and controversy, Raila remained steadfast, embodying perseverance and hope to millions. Family patriarch. Even after decades in the spotlight, he upheld family values, tradition, and humility. The subsequent loss of his sister Beryl underscores the depth of that family legacy. His death marks the end of an era, but his ideas, struggles, and influence live on. Kenya and Africa have lost a giant. Yet his legacy continues to inspire new generations, political debates, and a vision for a more democratic, just continent.